Nowadays, people are as much as 3 or 4 generations removed from the farm. So how are consumers supposed to know how their food really gets to the supermarkets? Being raised with livestock my entire life, I have seen firsthand the animal handling practices that are used to produce healthy animals for our consumption. The 2 most controversial animal confinement practices today are probably the use of gestation crates in sows and battery cages for egg-laying chickens. They are so controversial because although they make it possible for producers to raise a mass amount of food-producing animals, they are also a cause for some legitimate health concerns for those animals if these practices are not done correctly. The first animal confinement systems we're going to look at are gestation crates for sows. Professor Bernard E. Rowland, the author of Farm Animal Welfare, describes these gestation crates as a metal enclosure used in intensive pig farming in which a female breeding pig, or sow, may be kept during pregnancy. As you can see, they are roughly 7 foot by 2 foot in size and can hold a sow that weighs up to 900 pounds. The concrete floors of these crates are slatted to allow waste or other excrement to pass through to be collected. If you were to ask any pork producer that utilizes these structures, they would tell you that it is for the sow's health and overall well-being. Pigs, just like many other animals, will typically fight when housed together in large groups, which can lead to injury and even death. These gestation stalls eliminate that threat. These systems also provide each pig with their own personal waterer and individual feed ration that is specific to each sow. The Washington Post states that while the practice of immobilizing these animals in crates limits fighting, it subsequently increases the animal's stress levels, in turn causing other health problems. Some of the most common physical health problems that are a result from being housed on these concrete-floored stalls are lesions and mouth sores from bar biting. These stalls have seemed to cause some mental problems as well. These include tongue rolling, head weaving, and bar biting due to stress. Some studies have even shown that sows can eventually show behavior that indicates learned helplessness. This means that the animals remain passive when poked to get up, or even when a bucket of water is thrown over them. We see the same type of situation when it comes to the use of battery cages in large poultry barns. Battery cages are a type of housing system used primarily for egg-laying hens. And this shows just an example of one of these housing systems used in a poultry barn. The term battery cage actually comes from the arrangement of rows and columns of identical cages connected together resembling the cells of a battery. They consist of a slope floor which allows the egg to roll to the front of the cage for easy collection, as well as a conveyor belt beneath the cages that are used to dispose quickly of manure, which in turn provide better air quality and greatly reduces the rate of fly breeding. Much like the use of gestation crates in hogs, there are many advantages to these battery cages. According to Milton Arndt, the author of Battery Brooding, the use of these cages make it possible for a reduction in feed waste, the elimination of internal parasites, and more pullets may be housed in a given house floor space. Most commonly, the use of this housing system is also in conjunction with biosecure barns. This means that workers, equipment, and new birds must go through a thorough disinfecting process to reduce the risk of bringing in any contaminants or disease. Often these housing systems can lead to different harmful behaviors. Feather pecking occurs when one bird repeatedly pecks at another's feathers. This can lead to trauma of the skin or bleeding, which in turn can lead to cannibalism and death. Cannibalism is the act of one chicken consuming part of or all of another individual of its species. It can be in response to stress and causes a large mortality rate within the flock. As we can see, there are many benefits of these housing systems, as well as some concerning health issues that it may lead to. Ultimately, it is up to consumers to determine whether or not the use of these animal confinement practices continues, or eventually are phased out. The key to animal welfare isn't necessarily whether or not these systems are used. It is about whether or not the management practices utilizing these processes are done correctly. Thank you.